Hi again then guys, and welcome to of course another speed tune for Gran Turismo Sport with Route X of course in mind in particular, and this is a deceptively quick car. It used to already be really quick in GT6, but a lot of cars have dropped by quite a lot. This one though in comparison hasn't dropped by quite as much as some of the other vehicles have, and it's still very quick. Great rival to a lot of the much bigger dogs and a lot more expensive ones as well. So for value for money and bang for buck, this is a great one, the Nissan 300ZX. Now as far as the upgrades, of course you want to take the power as high as it can go, the weight as low as it can go. I would recommend having traction control turned off, but of course that's down to you. We've got racing super soft tyres for the maximum grip. As far as suspension, we've gone for my more signature suspension setup for stability and handling through the corners, not just straight line speed. So I'd recommend having it 15mm higher than the lowest, which is 105. Then for the frequency, as high as possible. As far as anti-roll, we've got those on 4. Then for the dampers, both compression and rebound is as low as it can go. I have actually gone for camber on this one, and that's because it's more of a street vehicle, as I already mentioned with the GTR from the last tune that I did, or not the last tune but a recent one. You need a little bit more stability on something that isn't already a race car or a supercar, because they do tend to be a little bit softer through the corners. We've got neutral toe as well. Downforce of course doesn't apply for this one. I would recommend the lowest initial torque and braking with the highest acceleration. That's what I use. You don't have to, of course, you could try other things if you want to. And finally for the gearbox, it's actually a much wider spread of gears than I expected it to be. So you want the fully customized transmission, of course, an auto setting of 249 miles per hour, then for the individual gears 1.7, 1.15, 0.85, 665, 525, and then a final drive of 3. Now you actually can get this one to cruise a little bit quicker, like 266 under its own power instead of 265, but the reason why I opted to do 265 is because you're barely doing any revs at all in 5th gear. So you're saving fuel and you've got a massive amount of slipstream potential. It should easily go over 300. And as far as increasing it, well, if you put the final drive up to say 3.1, then it should cruise at 266 instead, but you'll have just that little bit less draft potential. So it depends what you want. For the sake of 1 mile per hour more, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that, but it's down to you, obviously. So that's it for the tune, but now what you want to see is, as we always do, put it out on the track to watch it go. So I would say one of the greatest things about this car is undoubtedly the fact that it's carried over being such a sleeper. People know that the ZX is fast, but not as fast as it is, generally speaking. For such a cheap car, it can easily keep up with stuff like Diablos, Venenos, even stuff like Supras and GTRs, especially once you factor in slipstream, and you've got such a massive amount of slipstream potential. As you can see, at the bottom of the screen, you're doing 260 in 5th gear, and you can barely even see the revs at all. In fact, at the moment, you can't go uphill. Whereas, once you get down the other side, and on the other side of the track as well, it cruises back up to 265, you're still barely doing any revs, so you've got a huge amount of slipstream potential that you can get right up behind those much quicker cars, well over 290, it should do well over 300 as well, without even breaking a sweat. So, deceptive car, it's one of the cheapest ways to win on this track. It's such an affordable vehicle. The handling isn't quite as sharp as something like an LMP or a Vision GT car, of course, but it's pretty smooth. It's similar to the Supra in terms of its handling. So overall, if you do decide to use this tune, I hope you have a ton of fun with it. You can definitely win races with it against significantly more expensive cars, and if you want to check out all of my other speed builds, and I've done plenty of them, then click here on screen. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.